Our new Reese's Oreo campaign, the
Yeah.
main messaging is you asked for it. And that is literally because people ask for it online.
Welcome to the Social Media CX Podcast. I'm Brooke Sellas, CEO of B Squared Media, and each week we'll tackle the challenges of social care head on with candid interviews, real world case studies, and actionable advice to turn your social channels into loyalty building, revenue driving, dopamine machines. Hey friends, welcome back to the Social Media CX Podcast, where we explore the conversations that connect brands and people and turn listeners into loyal fans. Today's episode is extra sweet, pun intended. We're talking about how one of the most iconic brands in the world, yes, that company, Hershey's, has evolved from social listening to full-on cultural intelligence. Today's guest is Paige Walker, the manager of cultural intelligence and trends at the Hershey Company, helping some of the world's most iconic brands stay human, relevant, and rooted in culture. Paige, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here.
We are just so lucky to have you. But before we get too serious, I have to ask you, what's your favorite Hershey's treat? And what's your favorite moment or the moment when you realized culture really mattered in your work?
Yeah, so my favorite treat honestly kind of changes as we just release new products and I try new things. So like ask me in 6 months and it'll probably be different. But I do really love the Reese's Caramel Big Cup. That is like my favorite.
A girl
I
after
love
my own
I love
heart.
caramel, and it just the flavor combinations of that are amazing. So I love that. But then on like the salty side, I love Dot's Parmesan garlic pretzels. They're so good. If you haven't tried that
I
flavor, you
have
need to try
not.
them. And
Okay.
then on the sweet side, see, I have a favorite for every category. So for on the sweet side, my favorite right now is Jolly Rancher ropes, specifically in the watermelon and green apple. The ropes are new. They're a newer innovation. So if you haven't tried that, you need to try those as well.
Seen but also not tried. So I heard that I need to try the ropes because I do love me a Jolly Rancher. Yeah.
Yeah, and the flavors, I mean, I'm very biased obviously, but the flavors the flavors really shine through, so I think they're great.
And what is your favorite moment or the moment when you realized that culture really mattered in your work?
I don't know if I have a specific moment per se, but I just really think that, in the crazy world that we are living in today, it's really important to be in touch with your consumers, in touch with people, in touch with the world and what's going on, and know how people are feeling so you can effectively communicate and effectively market to them. So not a moment, but more just like a feeling of there's a lot going on. How can we as Hershey's kind of bring goodness to the world?
I love that. Wait, and are you wearing that chocolate shirt on purpose?
No, and now you're just saying it. You're saying it, and I'm like, but it kind of looks like I did plan this,
Okay,
but
it's very
no.
on brand. Okay. Honestly, though, your answer is what we're diving into today. It doesn't matter, the past couple of weeks I've been on conference rounds and traveling to speak, and it doesn't matter if I'm talking about AI or content for social. What you are talking about is the common thread that I hear over and over again. How can we get closer to the customer? How can we better connect with the customer? How can we listen, which we're going to talk about today, on social media, not just to uncover these data points that we're looking for, which are really important, but how do we get to that deep human insight that drive cultural relevance? So super duper excited to talk to you. Let's start with social care to cultural intelligence because your journey is fascinating. You actually started out closer to social care and community management, right?
Yeah, so yeah, I did have a very like untraditional path to kind of getting where I am. I was in the journalism field out of college. I was a live television news producer. Like think of your like 6 o'clock newscast while you're watching dinner at night. Like that's what I did for work. But that field just wasn't something I wanted to be in for the rest of my life. So I always knew I liked social media. So I was like, okay, I was looking for jobs and I'm like, I can do social media. I understand social media. where could my skills, be a fit, because the newsroom is very fast paced, and it's
Mhm.
also a field where you are listening to people and telling stories and, just being empathetic and hearing what they have to say. So when I was looking for jobs, I had found this job at Hershey. It was called social media engagement specialist, but that is just the term that they use for social care. So I got in doing that, and it was literally just responding to consumers on all of our brand channels. So think Reese's, Jolly Rancher, Twizzlers, Kit Kat, all of them have, Facebooks and Twitters and Instagrams and TikToks. And, hundreds of consumers are, commenting, messaging those brands, tagging us in photos and tweets every single day. So there is a whole team that's dedicated to, looking through everything the brand channels get. Because a lot of times, if a consumer has a problem with their Reese's cup, if their Reese's cup doesn't have peanut butter, they might be upset about it. And that does happen, unfortunately, from time to time. So they might be upset about it, and they might, tweet that, hey, I just got this from Walmart and I'm really upset, blah, blah, blah. So
Yeah.
it's the social care team's job to then reach out and make it right. Because at the end of the day, they bought that for a specific reason and it
For
didn't
the
live up
peanut
to their
butter.
expectations. Exactly.
Yeah, for the peanut
So
butter.
yeah, so there's a whole team that deals with that for all of the brands. It's a very specific process. But then through that process is kind of where we built the social intelligence capability, because we were seeing, it was myself, one other colleague, and our manager at the time. We were seeing so many great insights just coming into our DMs, coming into our tweets and our comment sections about,
Yeah.
oh, I love this flavor. Or, can you bring back this product? Or this packaging is weird. Can you fix this packaging? Blah, blah, blah. Just all of these insights for all of our brands coming in. And we're like, well, we need to be listening not only on our organic social pages, but we need to be listening all over the internet. Because of course, people talk about us without, actually tagging the page a lot of times. They
Right.
might go on Twitter and say, oh, I love Reese's, but they might not actually tag the Reese's page. So it is important for us to be listening on organic social, listening in the DMs, in the private messages, but also on Reddit threads and on blogs and on YouTube and on TikTok and all of that. So we had expanded from there, and then we got trained on the software and everything. And it kind of just like a few years passed in between where we were really kind of doing a road show and going around to different teams and saying like, hey, this is why we should do this. Let us do this for you. We have all this great insights to deliver to you. It's not just people complaining online. Like there's lots of great, windows into the lives of consumers, just how they're using our products, what they want from us, what they need. Their needs are always changing. So it started out just being me and my other colleague, but then she ended up leaving the company. My manager left the company, and I was like, oh, well, it's just me, and I need to step it up if I'm going to keep going with this. And I mean, thankfully, I kept it going and kept making the business case to a bunch of different stakeholders. And I ended up moving from what was the consumer relations team, so like the customer service team,
Yeah.
to the consumer insights team, and being the first one on the team to ever do social listening in-house for them.
That's
So that
amazing.
was, yeah, thank you. So I worked with them for a while. My title then was just associate manager of consumer insights, kind of general. And I did lead social listening / intelligence, and I also helped with some primary research. But now my role has continued to evolve. Again, it just keeps evolving. And in that, on the consumer insights team, part of what I did was track trends in the food and beverage space.
Mhm.
I mean, like freeze-dried candy, like prebiotic, probiotic soda, like stuff that's
Popular
trending.
stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but it all goes back to, okay, there's a reason why these things are popular. There's a motivator, there's a need here. So, kind of digging into like, okay, here are the things that are trending and here's why they're trending and here's where it might go in the future. And
Yeah.
so that kind of led to my role now, this cultural intelligence and trends role, where I'm still kind of figuring out exactly what it's going to be because it's a brand new role for the company. There kind of is no precedence. There's no like, here's what the person before did. I
Right.
am just the first person doing it. So I'm kind of in
You're
the
the
process
innovator.
of, yeah, we want to use that term. Figuring out exactly how this roles, but I will be looking in on like near in trends, things are trending right now, why they're trending right now, if there's anything going on with the shopper right now and things that might be impacting their behavior, and then also how it might play into foresight, which is like, 3 to 5 years in the future and what we think is going to be the next huge trend. So very exciting. I'll still lead social listening. I'll still do social listening, but because we have so many brands and there's only one of me, social listening is kind of for, I don't want to call it like special use cases, but it kind of is like, we'll do social listening on like big brand campaigns and like things that we definitely want feedback for. We do it a lot for, I say we, I do it a lot for, I do it a lot for like category analysis. So if we're
Yeah.
considering like launching a new product, we can look into the current market and see, oh, what are consumers saying about the current products on the market right now? What are their pain points? What are their needs? If we're going to enter this space, what do we need to be aware of before we enter the space? So it really went from listening to our consumers just in our DMs, in our comments, in our private messages about the things that they were upset about or the things that they loved and they were happy about. And then now we're listening on a very broad, like society world level. So it's kind of crazy where it's gone.
I think that's such a great way to frame it, actually, because so many brands, well, not enough brands are even social listening, but the brands who are social listening kind of stop, I feel like, at social listening. They collect those mentions, they are taking a look at some of those metrics, but you hit the point that I think is so important, which is they miss the why. Why is this happening? So, on that note, how would you define cultural intelligence for someone who's still in that traditional listening phase? Like, what does this evolution look like for you? And how would you describe it for people who are watching or listening who are maybe doing social listening, but are like, I want to go where Paige is going. I want to be an innovator. How do you define that? How do you describe that?
Yeah, I think, and like I said, I'm still kind of working on what it means, to be honest. I'm learning myself. But if I were to give you an educated answer right now, I think my interpretation of it is really digging into the why and the human motivators and the things that are pressuring consumers, the reasons they act the way they do, the opinion, why they have certain opinions, what, matters to them in their daily lives, how are they using products in their daily lives, what needs are they meeting? Because anybody can log on to a social listening tool and say, okay, well, this brand has X amount of positive mentions and X amount of negative mentions. It's like, okay, what does that mean? Like,
Right.
what are they saying in the positive? What do they actually like about your brand or your product or your service? And especially that negative, like, okay, X amount of negatives, let's dig in and figure out like, okay, what's actually going on? What are they asking for? What are the problems that they have? Are there any external motivators, from society that might be contributing to things? So I think really just digging into the why behind
Yeah.
all of the feedback that a brand could get.
I love that so much because it feels like what you're saying, or at least what I'm hearing, is that cultural intelligence is like it's like social listening, but it's doing that with empathy because you're not just looking to hear your customer, like what are they saying? You are looking at the what, but again, going to the why, you're looking at trying to understand the meaning behind what they say. Do you have an example out of a time at Hershey's where it was through this new role or just social listening where the work actually shifted something? So, whether it was messaging, packaging, or a campaign strategy, did you get some of that feedback from your audience and go, you know what? And then something shifted because of that feedback?
Yeah, and I wouldn't call this cultural intelligence. I mean, certainly we were listening to consumers, but this was really just, straight up, we were listening to consumers. And this was a pretty recent example. Our new Reese's Oreo campaign, the
Yeah.
main messaging is you asked for it. And that is literally because people asked for it online. And we went, we were seeing for all these years, consumers wanted us to bring back this flavor called the Crunchy Cookie Cup. So I like to say the Reese's Oreo is kind of like Crunchy Cookie Cup 2.0. Like it's kind of like the next generation of that. This was a fan loved flavor and it got discontinued and people continuously are upset and they wanted it back. So the brand, heard that. And on top of the crunchy cookie, people did always ask us to collab with Oreo because that's another iconic brand. And then like
Yeah.
peanut butter and cookies, it goes really well together.
Yeah.
So we used, real life consumer requests to then feed into that campaign messaging. So if you see the ads online on YouTube or on your TV or anything, you'll see the you asked for it, and
Yeah.
that it is literally because people asked for this collab and they got it.
That's gold. It's like finding the human heartbeat inside of the hashtag or the event or the conversation. I love it so much. A cookie, crunchy cookie cup. You were saying
Yeah.
something and I'm like, say that 3 times fast, Brooke. I can't. Okay, but let's get into this because social listening gets thrown around a lot in marketing, and sometimes it's not really social listening. You made a great point earlier, and I was making this point last week at an event where I was speaking about social listening. We always think of social listening as the stuff that's coming to us, right? But we're not thinking about the stuff that's happening about us, like when they don't tag you, or they're not commenting on your post, or they're not sliding into your DMs. But you and I both know there's a huge difference between tracking metrics, right? Whether they come to you and it's reactive, or you go out and you look for it proactively with social listening. So, difference between metrics and understanding the meaning or the why, which we've kind of been talking about. So, how does Hershey's connect the dots between customer sentiment, like how they feel about the brand or the products, cultural conversation, and real business outcomes? Like, are you tasked with certain numbers around like acquisition or retention, or is it basically all sentiment, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so thankfully I don't have any like hard and fast KPIs we have to meet just because social's so unpredictable and you don't know what's gonna happen there. So essentially what I do is my main metrics, like my quantitative metrics are mention volume, potential impressions, and net sentiment. I do sometimes include engagements, but for us it doesn't matter as much what the engagements are. Just kind of depends on the context of the situation, but mentions, potential impressions, and net sentiment are very important. So if we do have, a very low net sentiment or very
Mm-hmm.
high net sentiment, I then go in with the qualitative, like, okay, here's consumer quotes, here's screenshots of pictures, here are videos from TikTok, here are things that demonstrate this either very positive or very negative sentiment. So like, yeah, you're seeing the number, but then here's the actual evidence behind the number. And then same with mentions, if we see a big spike on a certain day for a certain reason, I'm like, okay, here's what happened on this day at this time, and here is exactly what it was. Here's the quote from whatever social media platform it is. So really combining the qual and the quant there, it's like, okay, here's the numbers, and then here is the actual consumers, and here's actually what they said, and here's why it matters. And of course, we're not just going off of social data. We, of course, have an amazing traditional insights team that's doing qual and quant. And what I spent really the last year doing is trying to let them meld my work with their work. So like
Mm-hmm.
if they're doing a survey on something, I will go out and do a social listening report on it and be like, hey guys, here's some more insights for you. This can help inform your survey questions. Or if they didn't get certain answers that they needed from a survey or from, a one-on-one interview, here's some more data for you. So like this might have answered questions that you didn't even think to ask. Like social is just like a gold mine of insights, I like to say, because there's just so much there that you wouldn't have even thought to think about. So
Yeah, so true. It's so true. I imagine, I assume, but you know what happens when you assume. I imagine that AI plays some sort of role in helping you surface these patterns because it's so great at NLP, natural language processing. Hey, Brooke here. Quick pause. If you've been nodding along and thinking, wow, we really need to get our social customer care together, I've got you. I have a new LinkedIn Learning course. Yeah, me. On LinkedIn Learning. Still not over it. It's called Mastering Social Media Customer Care Strategies from Million and Billion Dollar Brands. And it's packed with the exact frameworks we use at B Squared to help brands boost loyalty, reduce response times, and actually connect with their customers on social. Because customer care is your brand experience. And this course helps you master that without the fluff. Check it out now on LinkedIn Learning by going to bit.ly/B2LI care. That's B2LI care as in B squared, LinkedIn, and then the word care, or just scroll down to the show notes. So we're looking at all these conversations, right? It's a great tool, but it's still people like you who make sense of what the AI says. But do you use AI to help surface some of these trends and patterns inside of this language, these conversations that are happening?
Yeah, absolutely. So our core social listening tool is Quid, and Quid does have like an AI capability built into it. So, I mean, LLMs, I guess, are AI sort of in a way because they're like figuring out the sentiment of posts. But the AI we think about today in 2025, Quid does have that built into their platform. And so let's say you're, dealing with a huge set of data, like hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of mentions, and you're like, I don't know where to start. There's so
Mm-hmm.
much here that I could do. So thankfully, like more than really even one person could do. So let's, tap into this AI and it can give us a summary of the conversation, give you main themes, and give you a place to start. Because sometimes it's just, like I said, so huge, you're overwhelmed, you don't know what to do. At least the AI can say, okay, here's some main talking points. Here's some areas where you can dig deeper. So I do use that pretty often just to kind of get me going. And then AI is important, especially if like I get a very quick request. It's like, hey Paige, we need to know about this, and it's 3:30 p.m. on a Friday, and we need this answer right now. And I'm like,
But
oh
of
my God,
course.
I don't have time to build a topic around this. But we have a tool where we could go in and say, okay, tell me what people are saying about X, Y, and Z over the last 30 days. And the Quid AI tool will bring back and say, okay, here's the sentiment, here's some summary of conversation. So it
Yeah.
at least gives us a place to start, and we can then like deliver those answers to a stakeholder with the caveat of being like, okay, this is AI, like we'll dig into it on Monday, but like at least like here's a place to start. Here is where if we know it's a crisis versus not a crisis or some huge issue
Right.
or not. So quick turn requests, AI, that it's great for that. And then just getting some answers out of very large, overwhelming data sets. And we just onboarded a tool called Viral Moment that actually has an AI bot that watches videos from TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And then it, can group all of that into certain themes. And so I'm not watching hours of video on my own. Like this AI bot
Yes.
is watching hours of video for me.
Shout out
So
Quid and Viral Moment. I will be checking out Viral Moment for sure.
yeah, no, it's been great for TikTok because TikTok, traditional social listening tools, not just Quid, they struggle to understand video. Like they can get text and
Yeah.
hashtags, but they
Yeah.
don't know what's actually going on in the video, what somebody's saying, or if they hold up a rapper on screen, but they don't say it in the
Right.
caption. Viral Moment uses their AI to actually recognize, like, oh, here's a Reese's logo, here's the Oreo logo, like whatever. So that's been super helpful.
Yeah, I love that you are giving this advice because I say this all the time. Like, it's sometimes when we work in the conversations like we do, and there's a lot of conversations like you have with all those brands. I can't even imagine the volume of conversation that you have. It's like trying to drink through a fire hose, especially if you're a team of one or two. And so using these tools or AI, right? A lot of the tools have AI built in, especially the social listening tools, but using these tools just help us, yes, do things faster, to your point about 3:30 on a Friday, as it always happens, but being able to take that data and turn it into sentiment or empathy or emotion so that we can try to connect with the customer. I think, that's something social care leaders can learn from you and hopefully are hearing from you, because social care data, what we're doing is, I'm just defining as broadly social care, is so emotion rich, right? I mean, and sometimes we want to stick our head in the sand because it's not necessarily the emotions we want. They're negative emotions, but if you don't use that negative, positive, good, bad, ugly, whatever to inform your strategy, you're literally leaving customer insights on the table.
Yeah. I always say that it's your most passionate consumers who are in your comment sections and in your DMs, and you should be listening to them because they're the ones who are going to go out and buy your product. Like they're the ones buying your products. So, yeah, it might suck to get a negative DM from somebody, but that's somebody who has spent money on your product and you should want to help them have a great experience. So,
Yes, exactly. From the front lines of social care all the way into the boardroom or the C-suite, it's all connected because
yep.
it's based on these emotions that our customers have. And they have these high emotions because they care, and they care because they're buying the product. Okay, I get off my soapbox now. All right, let's zoom out a tiny bit and talk about the fact that you sit at the intersection of brand, behavior, and culture, which to me sounds like a dream spot for anybody who likes insights like we know you do, right? What cultural or behavioral trends are shaping brand relevance right now for you? Are there any cultural or behavioral trends that are just like really top of mind, like on your plate every day as you do this work?
Yeah, I think authenticity is huge right now in this highly digital age, the rise of AI, the rise of mega, very affluent influencers.
Mm-hmm.
People want real. They want connection, they want realness, and they want brands who are being honest and transparent and, that care about them in a world that is so digital. And sometimes you don't know what to trust. You don't know if an influencer is being paid,
Right.
whatever amount of
Yeah.
money to talk positively about a product. You don't know AI. I mean, I don't know. I feel like we're all kind of wary of AI's influence on media and art. So I think authenticity is huge and just this need for connection and being offline a little more, I think is a big deal. So I'm trying to maybe hopefully that will start to come through in some of our marketing campaigns because I think people really need that right now.
I love that so much. It's so easy for brands to jump on to all the like trending things for visibility. But I think true relevance and true authenticity true
Hard word to
authenticity,
say.
like you're talking about, actually requires a lot of restraint, right? Because
Mhm.
instead of saying yes to all the trends and the AI and this, and that, you've got to pull back and say, like, but is this on brand for us?
Yes.
How does Hershey stay authentic while still showing up in these cultural moments, some of which are trending just by nature?
Yeah, I think one of the things we've been really trying to do recently is partner with influencers who do truly love our brands,
Mm-hmm.
not people who are just viral for, "Oh, I have 3 million followers or whatever." I mean, that's great. That's a
Sure.
great feat. But if you don't love the Reese's brand, you probably shouldn't be working with the Reese's brand. So, I was very impressed with our influencer work for the Reese's Oreo. I think we partnered with some great people who just genuinely loved Reese's and I think, and Oreo, of course. And I think that's what made it so successful. That product was way more talked about than any of our other recent launches. And I think it was because we worked with people who just were so genuinely excited about the collab. And it really showed in their content.
That's such an important distinction. I think as marketers, I hate to bash on us. We're marketers too, right? But like I think sometimes we just get caught up in like the shiny object moment of it all, including trend topping and influencers. But it sounds to me like you're really honoring the brand by choosing authentic partners like these partners that you partnered with for the Crunchy Cookie Cup. for,
No, no,
for the
don't call it that. We
for
got to
the
call it Reese's Oreo.
Reese's Oreo. I was just trying to get out the cookie. See, I did it the one time. If you had to give brands one piece of advice for listening like you are, so you're listening, but you're listening using machines and tools, but you're really listening like a human, right? You're listening for that emotional connection. Even as a brand as large as Hershey's, right? So people listening might be just as larger, but a lot of them honestly are probably smaller. So what advice would you give them on how to listen like a human, no matter what size they are?
Yeah, I would say don't discredit any kind of data that you have. Like, just because it is a DM from an angry person doesn't make it any less valuable than a survey response from someone. Like, just because actually, I sometimes think that social media data is more honest and more unfiltered because we're not going through and asking them questions. We're not asking them, hey, what did you think about this product? they're taking the time out of their day to go online and actually write something or
Mm.
shoot a video about your product. So even if it is an angry DM or it's a tweet, it all can kind of come back to, okay, what's the story these consumers are trying to tell us, whether it's through social media, whether it's through our qualitative and quantitative research. All of that data matters. So don't discredit some crazy guy's DM. I mean, make sure the crazy guy is in line with other people and like they're saying the same thing, but all of the data deserves a seat at the table.
Yes, thank you. I love that. Thank you. Beautiful. And, connection over conversion every time. Yes, the angry person already purchased something, but if you save them, they might come back and still purchase some things, right?
Yeah.
Um, okay, Paige, are you ready for our
Okay.
lightning round
I think so.
of quick takes? No overthinking, no over-engineering. Just fire off what you think as soon as you hear the question. Ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Complete this sentence. A brand that listens well, blank.
Wins.
No, wins. So good. A brand that listens well wins. Okay, now that was quick, but like back it up. Why? Why do they win?
Because at the end of the day, go back to why you created your product, why you created your brand. Who are you trying to target? Who are you trying to make happy? If you're not making them happy, you're not doing something right. Like it just goes back to the core of like what needs are you trying to meet? And if you're not meeting these needs, your consumers are telling you they're unhappy about certain things, you got to fix it. And like negative feedback is hard to hear, but if you don't hear it, your customers will just keep dropping off. So I think
Yeah,
just listening equals winning in my book.
I love it. All right, next one. Favorite Hershey campaign that absolutely nailed it. Like all the things you've been talking about. It nailed culture, it nailed listening, it nailed authenticity, all it nailed just being the brand. What campaign?
Yeah, I would say our Angel Reese and Reese's collaboration. This was something that was directly fueled by social listening, and it was so authentic because Angel Reese is truly a fan of the brand, despite her name and that obvious connection. But she calls her fans the Reese's Pieces, and her fans would come out with like, I remember thinking of a specific video of like a little girl. She made a poster and she put like Reese's Pieces all over the poster and the packaging of Reese's Pieces and everything. So it made sense for us to work with her. And her fans were asking us to give her a deal and sponsor her. And so we did. We listened and we created like a whole Angel Reese merch line, and it was very successful and had a really positive sentiment. So that's one of my favorite campaigns to date.
Well, that is a really, really good one. They asked, you delivered, and then you got the results because you delivered what you were being asked for. It's not rocket science, y'all. Paige, this has been such an energizing conversation for me. I'm walking away with lots of things, but here are my big three, I think. Number one is listen deeper, not wider. Listen for the why. Number two is data is the starting point, not the story. I think the why is really where that story comes from. Quant and qual, like you were saying. And then I think cultural intelligence is really just human empathy at scale. We're using machines, we're using tools, we're using AI to create empathy at scale, in my opinion. That's what I heard you say. But from your lips, any final advice for anyone who's watching or listening and they want to build their own cultural fluency or even just a social listening program? Where do they start?
Yeah, just start honestly, like if just to start with social listening, just start offering your reports to people because people are not gonna, they don't understand it, they don't know what it is, they're not gonna come to you. You have to come to them and say, hey, I have all this great data here. Let me do a report for you. Let me show you what it's all made of. It's not just people complaining, and yeah, sure, there's gonna be people complaining probably, but you have to listen to that, and then you could also dig into the other themes of conversation. So just you know, try to stay positive, try to educate everybody as much as you can because most people just dismiss social media as like stupid memes or people doing dance videos or selfies. And sure, it is those things sometimes, but it's also a window into the everyday life of the consumer. So,
I love that. I'm going to steal that line. Thank you again so much for joining us and for giving us a peek into how Hershey's is keeping its finger on the cultural pulse and also the human one. And for everyone listening, go follow Hershey's social channels so that you can see Paige's good work and keep learning how they show up, how they listen, and how they do things with actual authenticity and heart. Paige, on that note, where can everybody find you? Where do you hang out? Where can they connect with you?
yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. If you just search Paige Walker, it should hopefully come up.
Awesome. I hang out with Paige there, so definitely go find her, hang out with her. And everybody, until next time, make sure that you think conversation and not campaign. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Social Media CX podcast. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to up their social care game.